This is Møller Nielsen from Java Code Geeks. I'm going to teach you how to write clean, efficient code using the Jpa Buddy plugin for IntelliJ. If you have any JPA relations in your application, if you use JPA or the Spring Data Framework, then the Jpa Buddy will definitely save you a lot of time. Now, complementary to this video, there will be related articles and links in the description below. Also, please visit our webpage where we have a lot of other cool stuff at javacodegeeks.com. Please take the time to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we have more stuff coming up. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. If you're a Java developer and if you use the Spring Framework, then at some point you probably also have had to store data in a relational database, and for that purpose you have used JPA, Java Persistence Annotation, and you have probably also figured out how advanced it actually is. It's a quite advanced topic to get into, and it takes some time to know all the tricks and tips for this framework, and this is exactly where Jpa Buddy comes in. It makes it so easy. It generates files for us. It can help us create queries without us having to look up the documentation of how actually to create this specific query right here, and it gives value for free. It also, of course, has or not of course, but usually developers want to have payment for their work, which is totally fair. So there's also a paid registered version of Jpa Buddy, and the difference there, I'll tell you some of the differences, but the main differences are that you cannot create liquid-based YAML files from a database automatically. You cannot create the change sets, which are quite useful if you have an application that which is in production and you want to apply the changes to the production database when your application is also being put into production. This feature costs something, and this is a lot feature on this you want to pay around $50 or something like that, $49 per person per year if you are a business. But let us see what we actually get for free. This video will focus on the free stuff that we get with Jpa Buddy, and also how to install it and how to actually use it. Buddy all, I have the Spring Boot project right here. I've created it by pressing File, New, and I'm using IntelliJ, of course. The Jpa Buddy plugin is for IntelliJ. So inside IntelliJ I go to, and this is the ultimate version of IntelliJ that I'm using right here. So we go to New Project like this, and then we choose Spring Initializer. Then I chose Java, I chose Maven. You can also choose Gradle, of course, if you prefer Gradle instead. Then I chose the Azul 19 Java version right here. Of course, you can also choose your preferred Java version. I have compliance for Java 17 right here, and I want to create a jar. Make jars, not wars, is a good tip. If you really need to have a really good reason for using a war, you should use self-contained jar files and run self-runnable jar files that can run inside a lightweight Docker container. But that's another story. So then you press next once, and then you need to add Lombok right here, and you need to add I always add the Spring Web like this. Then I get a web server, and I can create some REST interfaces if I want to. We actually don't need that for this demo right here. Then I add JPA, Spring Data JPA right there. And this is, of course, this is where Java, the Jpa Buddy will help us and save us for a lot of hassle right there. Then I added H2, which is a lightweight database. It usually is actually run inside memory. This time, I think I'll run it as a file on the disk, because then I can actually connect to it with my IntelliJ database client. Of course, if you don't want to have a database running file on your disk, then you just run it in memory. And then you can access the database with the H2 console instead. And then you press finish, and then you would get this project that I have right here. I have cheated with some files right here, but we are going to create almost the same files, just with another name. We're going to create a new entity right here, and then we can actually see how easy it is. In my situation right here, I have a spaceship entity right here. So this is my spaceship entity. This means that this is a piece of data that I want to save into my relational database, and it has an ID, which is generated automatically by a sequence from higher H2. Then I have a description of the spaceship. What does it look like, the spaceship, and then the percentage of fuel left as a whole number represented by this fuel member variable right here. And remember, when we're dealing with JPA, as long as we have primitives or natives, or if we have the wrap natives right here, then those will be treated as columns. As soon as you put in another object, another entity, then then we have to say how we want to relate to that other object. That is how JPA is interpreting a class like this. Then I have a DTO. This is what I want to expose with my REST controller. And here I'm using a record. It's quite a good idea to actually expose DTOs, and DTOs it just stands for data transfer object. So you can actually have whatever you want in this data transfer object. But since it is named spaceship, then it should contain data about the spaceship, but it can also contain extra data that is needed by our client. And our client, that could be a React application, it could be an Angular application, it could be a client application of your choice, of course. And then we have all of the properties in the record right here. We have an integer, we have the description, and the fuel also right there. So this is our record right here. Of course, you can also choose to have another normal class if you want to have that. If you're not that familiar yet with records, I would say that definitely try out the records. But if you're not that familiar with records, just create a regular class. Then we have a repository right here. This repository, if you are used to Spring Data, then you know that every time you have an entity and you want to access that entity, if you want to save it, you want to load it from the database, then you need a repository. This repository is just an interface, actually, where Spring will actually provide the implementation of it. It needs to extend either JPA repository or CRUD repository, CRUD repository. The difference is that with JPA repository, you actually get the opportunity to flush your table and your connection. You can actually call flush once in a while if you want to, and then the data will actually be stored. That is the main difference. There are also some other methods that we will actually get with the JPA repository, which we do not have with the CRUD repository. So I always choose JPA repository right here. Then I have to give a generic type with what kind of type is it that we want to fetch from the database. Spaceship, that is the type that we want to fetch. And then the type of the ID that everything is hooked up on, and that is an integer. That was the ID inside the spaceship right here. So that is actually my application. And as you can see right here, I had to create 3 files at least, and I also created a test file to actually test the setup right here. Now we are going to do the same with a space captain, and then we can see how easy it is when we use JPA Buddy actually to both to create the setup, but also to create some awesome queries, so we can actually get the data that we want without having to look inside the documentation. Okay, so let us create a new package first, and we will say that this should be space.captain, like this. So, and here we want to create our space captain. So usually I would create the entity myself like this. So usually I would create an entity like this, space captain, and the first error we get when we create an entity is that we need an ID. So we need to annotate something with an ID like this, and we need to say that this is a generated value because we don't want to set those IDs ourselves. We want the database to actually automatically provide those, or JPA to provide them from something called a sequence, which is actually just a running number that starts with some kind of offset that if you don't choose anything, it will just start with ID 1, then it will give us ID 2 as the next number. But all that happens behind the scenes, so usually we would actually not see this. Integer ID like this, I want to say that this is a data. This is lumbox, so that means that I get my getters, my setters automatically. I get my toString representation, and I also get my my hash code. Right there. So I get getters and setters right there, and my equals method, I also get that automatically. So let us just set this to, I want all-ax constructor, and then I want no-ax constructor, like this. And this is just so it's easier to create a new instance. And here I have the builder. So I want to use the builder pattern whenever I want to create one spaceship manually. We need the noise constructor if we want to serialize it. Yeah, so... Okay, so first of all, we have an ID. We want another field that could be name. So this is a string. This is the name of the captain. And then we can have an integer. This could be the experience. How much experience does this captain have? And then we can have another integer. This could be number of crashes. Number of crashes. So how many times did this space captain actually crash a spaceship? So those are the fields that we actually want to deal with. And now we have to create all of those other classes, right? That's quite tedious, and this is where JPA Buddy comes in. First of all, we need to install it. I have, of course, already installed it, but I'm going to show you how to install it. You go to plugins, you write JPA Buddy, and you tick this little, you click the marketplace tab right here. Then you can see it's already installed right now, and then you press install. If at some point you feel like you want to purchase the full version, then you can do that through the store here somewhere. I have actually not tried that, but it should be quite easy if you follow the video on JPA Buddy's webpage. They have a lot of videos for all of the features, so if there's one of these features that I show you right now that you want to dig a bit into, then you can just go and look at the videos on JPA Buddy's website later on. But we install this plugin right here by pressing install and pressing OK, and then we have to restart IntelliJ. I have already done that, as I just said. And then we get some cool tools, some very awesome cool tools right here. And one of them is JPA Structure. This is a new view that we get right here. JPA Structure. Inside JPA Structure, I can see all of my entities right here. I can see I have my spaceship. This is the one I created before starting this demonstration right here. And then I have the new space captain right here. And I can also see if there's any references refers to or referenced by. So we can see sometimes it can actually be we can actually have quite a complex data model, and then we can actually see the model here, and we can see what refers to what right here. We will create a reference between the spaceship and the captain a little bit later. Now we will just focus on creating these new classes right here, and I just press the plus button right here. I could also say that I want to create the entity actually, and then I could have created the entity in a UI instead. We will also do that. So, but in this situation right here, I want to create a Spring Data repository. So I want to create this repository right here. And here I can say that it should be a JPA repository, and you can also choose, of course, any of the other repositories if you want to. I just prefer JPA repository, and it is also the default one. Then I want to, do I want to do anything else? No, I do not want to do anything else. I just want to say OK. Then I get my Space Captain repository right here. And it uses the right generics, the space captain right here, and also the integer right here. That is awesome. What about the DTO? Is that just as easy? Good question. Yes, it is. I can choose that it should be the space captain right here. I can choose that it should be a Java record. This time, let us just keep it as a regular class, just for fun, and then we can actually tick off all of these, all of the fields that we want to expose as a DTO. In this situation right here, I want this exactly the same fields, or maybe I don't want the ID, so then I'll just not tick off the ID right here. And it also asks, should I create an all-ice constructor, equals hash code to string, all of that. Actually, we want Lombok to create those things, but just for fun, I'm just going to leave them on and then press OK. Right here. Okay, it actually that's impressive. JPA Buddy actually noticed that we could just use Lombok instead, and then just add data right here. That is quite awesome. That is awesome. That's impressive. So then we get the DTO right here. If you use MapStruct, you can actually also create the mapper. So you can actually also create the mapper between the DTO and the entity, and that is also very, very impressive. We are not going to dig into that in this video right here, but use MapStruct. If you have a lot of mapping layers, actually, if you just have one mapping layer, two mapping layers, like if you have DTOs and if you have entities, then use look at MapStruct. It is quite good. It saves a lot of time. So Then there's also something called Spring Data Projection. That is just if you want an interface representation of your entity. Let us just press that. We're going to delete that afterwards because we don't need it. So, but this is just an interface an interface representation of our entity. Personally, I actually do not use interfaces if I don't have to. That was something that we did once when we had all of this enterprise architecture, but it's not used that much any longer. So if you can avoid creating your own interfaces, yeah, please do so. So that was those things. Let me just check right here. Then we can. Okay, let me show you the liquid base init changelog. Let us just see what actually happens if we try to create the liquid base file. You can actually see right here. This feature is only available in a commercial subscription. Please register and pay us a small fee, and then to continue. I'm going to press no, thank you right here. But that is how the features are shielded. So the feature you would actually still be able to see all the features you can, but when you try to use them, then you will get that cute little pop-up right there. So now we have an entity, we have a DT, we have the DTO, we have the repository. What else do we need? What else do we need? We need to have a test. So if I want to create a test based on this, then I can just go to my space captain right here. I can also go to my repository actually, and then I can press Alt Enter. And this is IntelliJ. This is not JPA Buddy. Here I'm creating a test right here, and this is just to show that what we actually did actually works. That is why I want to do this Spring Boot test. Yes. And here we can auto wire the space captain repository like this, and then we can say void try the captains. And then we can create a new. First of all, let us delete all to begin with. Then we can delete. Then we can create repository. Then we can create. Yeah, let us just create save. All here we actually see here we get the flush also. That's because it's the JPA repository. Let us say save all right here. This means that now I can give a list of, and then space captains right here, space captain, and here we can use the builder framework, and then we can then build a. Let us build a couple of. We have one name right here, so we have one captain named Mike and experience and number of crashes. Maybe that could be 3, and then experiences that could be maybe 25. And then we built that captain right there. So that was one captain, and of course we can create more captains. Control D for duplicate. Then we just create another captain right here. This could be Susan. Number of crashes 0. She's very careful. And 5 years of experience maybe. And that's actually it. So now we have saved these two. Entities in the database. Then we can try to say that we want a count assertions dot assert equals, and then we can say that we assert that there should actually be 2 entities inside our database right now, inside our table. So let us try to run this test right here. We need to annotate with test on top of the method. Let us see what happens. So now, what happens if JPA Buddy actually created all of our classes correctly, then we should be able to get we get a green mark right here. That's quite cool. And if we want to look up the database, we can do it 2 ways. If the application is running, then we can do it through a browser and then through the H2 console. If the application has stopped right now, as it is right now, then we just ran a test. That means that the Spring context already stopped. Then we can just press. Then we can actually connect with the IntelliJ database client tool right here, MikeDB, and here we have our tables. We have the space captains right here. So let us select what is here. We have 2 interests right here in the H2 database. That's quite cool. Awesome. Now we want to create some queries. that is always something that is really difficult, and we always have to look at the manual. Usually we have to look at the manual. Of course, if you are experienced with JPA, you do not need to look at the manuals, but for newcomers, this is the difficult part, to get the right data out. And this is actually where usually you'll create a lot of unit tests to ensure that you actually have the right data from each repository. Now let us create some queries. If you're not familiar with Spring Data, then you have two ways to create a query. You can write a method with names, and then actually the part of the method name will actually be used as the query itself. Or you can annotate with add query, and then you can write your JPA query on top of your method, and then you can name your method whatever you want to. You can just name your method Mike or whatever you want to, and then it is actually what is annotated on top with a query that decides what data should be extracted. We are going to try both right now, and we are going to use JPA Buddy to help us. And we have something called JPA Palette. If you don't have this JPA Palette in the right side, then you go to View. You go to Tools, and then you can see you have JPA Palette right there. If you don't have these three right here, then something went wrong when you try to install JPA Buddy. I have never seen it go wrong. Actually, I just want to mention it could be that you have not installed JPA Buddy. That's probably more likely. And then go install it and restart your IntelliJ afterwards. Okay, so we go to JPA Palette, which we have right here, and then we decide for ourselves: do we want to create a cool method, or do we want to use the query? We want to use a cool method for this query right here. That's what I just chose right here. So I am looking for collection. So I'm looking for all of the captains that have never crashed. Let us say that. So I'll say find collection. Then I drag it out here. Okay, so the return type is the list. Right now we know that it's actually only one. It's only Susan that haven't crashed yet. So maybe we'll create some more space captains actually. But the query is still good. So we will say here add query condition. We'll say we want the number of crashes to be equals 0. Equal is. Actually, we should just choose, we will just say that it should be less than or equal to, because then we actually get that as a parameter. So then we can actually set that as a parameter. Ignore case, yeah, we don't need that. Nullability, that's also okay. It should be non-null, the number of crashes. So let us try that. There's also an advanced tab right here. Here we can say something like, how do we want to sort this captain? Do we want them to be distinct? Do we want pages? That means that we can say that we want one page with 10 captains, etc., etc., etc. And this is the awesome part, actually. This is where it becomes really, really nice to use JPA Buddy, because this is where you usually wanted to look up in the manual. But let us just stay with this to begin with now and see which result we actually get. So we get this new method right here, find by number of crashes less than or equal to, and then a parameter. Remember the parameter, this is the definition that we put in right here. The argument is the value when we run at runtime. So there's a difference between argument and parameter. So this is a parameter that we have to give right here. Now we're going to create another method also now that we're here. I actually want to find one instance. And this cancel. I want to use the query this time. So I'll write query right here. Then I'll say find captain or exists. Let us actually just see if any exists. Let us try exists. So then we will say do we have a captain with name? And then we can add a query condition like this, and then we can say name. Then we can say starts with, or just contains actually. Just contains, yeah. Let's try that. It should not be nullable. The parameter should not be nullable, null. Yeah, and ignore case. Yes, we want to ignore case. Name parameters. Yes, we want to tick this one off. It is very ugly. The query will be very ugly if we don't tick that one off. Okay. And here we get the query. Look at this query right here. And we would probably have failed to create this query correctly a couple of times before we would actually figure out how to do this. Look here, select count s greater than 0 from space captain. Yes, where upper is name like upper, so that this is where it does not matter about the case. And here we have the named parameter. This is here where we have the named parameter. We have colon right here, and the name, and that is the parameter right there. Then we have and then we get the parameter right here also. So now let's go back to our tests and see what actually happens now. Because now we will go back to, let us go back to the test right here. First of all, I think the formatter has been turned off. I have a prettier formatter. Let me just go look at that actually. Plugins right there, and then we have something called prettier. I haven't installed it. Okay, that's why. If you there's a plugin that you always need. You need that also if you use VS Code, and if you do front end, then you also need this prettier plugin right here. And we also have to say that we want to have a save action, actually. On save action. Actions on save right here. Reformat code, optimize imports. Run prettier, yes. Let us just skip that one. So we want to format the code, actually. That was the important part. Yes. It helps a lot, and the tricks that I just did there, I think you should do exactly the same. You go to save actions and then say that you want to optimize imports. So your imports in the top, they will actually, they will match your needs down here. And we also get a nice looking code format right here. This also gives us less merge work when we are merging with our colleagues. So it's good to have the same formatter in a Scrum team actually. So, okay, now let us just create another one right here. I'll just duplicate the code again. This could be linear number of crashes 2, experience 8 maybe. And first of all, we will keep our assertion. Now we will say repository, then we'll say exists. And then we need to give a name, or we can also just give a so this means I will actually, I'll test that we have something exist right here with Mike. No, that's not the one. Exist. We need to have do we have a caption with name? That was the name of the method. So this is what we want to check right here. Assertions.assert true. Right here. So we assert that there's a caption with the name Mike. And again, duplicates, and then we also assert that there's a captain with the name San, or where it has a part of it, or maybe also Line, and also maybe Torben. And this we do not have anyone with the name Torben, so we assert false down here just for fun. Let us run this cool test right here and see what actually happens now. So now we actually got an error. Expected 2, actual 3. Yeah, that is because now we added a new captain and we expected 2 right here, but we should actually expect 3. And you should never, of course, make tests that breaks that are this fragile. Your test should be sturdy. So and now we got a green test. This means that our method actually work. And thank you very much, Jpa Buddy, for actually creating this creating this query for us. Now let us try the other query. So we have repository find by number of crashes less than. So we want all of them with the number of less than 6. Number of crashes 6, or maybe 2. Then I will get 2 captions. Yeah. So let us just we'll get number less than 2, and then we'll say assertions dot equals, and then we'll say 2, and then we'll say size right here. So then we actually assert that we get 2 captains back that has less than 2 crashes, less than or equal to 2 crashes. And that means that we have Lena and we have Susan, and we will not get Mike returned as in this query right here. So let's see what happens now. Yes, another green test. Just for fun, let us actually print out these two captions right here. Because we have that add data on top, that means that we can actually say for each right here, for each. And then we can actually say this is each captain right here. Oh, we'll just print out, this is a reference to a method. This means that now we will actually end with printing out all of our captains, a string representation of all of our captains in the end right here. So here we go. And here we have the captains. That is Susan, and Lena has less or equal than 2. If we write 10 right here, of course we expect 3 then, all of them, and then we can run our code again. I would say this is actually my favorite feature. That is the query feature. That's definitely the one that actually saves me the most. Okay. We have to write 3 also. Yeah, 3 is actually enough. We'll try 30. This is the feature that actually saves me the most time. That is this query, this generate query feature that we have right there. And again, now we have all of the captains. Mike is also there. Number of crashes 3. So that's quite awesome. One last thing that I want to show you is that let us try to join the. Now we will actually create a relation between the spaceship and the captain. So we will say that the spaceship has a captain, private space captain like this. And now we get an error because this is an object, this is not an entity, this is a class. So this means that we actually have to tell JPA how we will actually join this. What kind of relation is it? This is a one-to-one relation. One captain can only be on one spaceship at a time in this scenario right here. And then we will say at join column. This is how it is joined, and here we will say that it should be joined with the name captain ID or something like that. So this is the join column, one-to-one. Let us see what actually happened here. If I go to my JPA structure, what happens now? Spaceship captain. Look what just happened right here. I'm not going to save any entities or anything. I just want to show you that now we can see that the space captain is referenced by spaceship. And of course, we can also create this reference on the other side. Then they both reference each other. And here we can say refers to space captain right here. That is quite awesome because it gives us a good overview of our data model actually, and we can actually easily change down and click down to our get the code actually, get the correct code. So if we want to add the space captain, then we just do that. And of course, we should only map this on one side. One-to-one mapping. You could also use, of course, a relational table, but in this situation right here, we will not use a new one. Then we'll just say map by, and then it's mapped by the field name captain on the other side. This means that it's mapped on the spaceship side, and it's mapped by this field right here, captain, and that here we use the join column. If you want to join it with a table instead, because you might expect the relation to change from one-to-one to one-to-many or many-to-many, then you can use the add join table instead. That's how you would do that. So yeah, that's it. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because we have a lot of cool stuff coming up. Bye!